Them take care of your problems. Don't you hate it when that happens to you? When it does, you need this and this and this. When it happens to me, I always know where to go. When you've got professionals on your side, your problems don't stand a chance. What are you waiting for? Contact them today and let them take care of your problems. Don't you hate it when that happens to you? When it does, you need this and this and this. When it happens to me, I always know where to go. When you've got professionals on your side, your problems don't stand a chance. What are you waiting for? Contact them today and let them take care of your problems. Don't you hate it when that happens to you? When it does, you need this and this and this. When it happens to me, I always know where to go. When you've got professionals on your side, your problems don't stand a chance. What are you waiting for? Contact them today and let them take care of your problems. Don't you hate it when that happens to you?
Right, sincerest apologies again for that break in transmission, but we are here with the news. Remember, we are Undaunted. And before we went on the little break in transmission, we had the Secretary of State for Defense, Mr. Frank Chin, right? And he was giving us some good answers, and we have this question for him as well. Mr. Frank, thank you for standing by. Right, please, do you think that there is any hope for collaboration with either some individuals fighters who may just want to be victims of manipulations? And if that happens, what should we expect?
Thank you once more, Uncle Lady. Like I mentioned before, as a government, we don't close our doors. Our doors are wide open for our brothers and sisters who might have taken the wrong track to return back home. Yes, there is room for unity, but that unity will be unity of purpose. And what is the purpose? The purpose is to flush La Republique out of our territory. As you can imagine, the road to Boya is quite wide and open. It's possible you are fighting from the north, heading to Boya. I am fighting from the south, heading to Boya. And if we do so well, all of us get to Boya on time. I do not expect to be fighting from the south, and then you in the north are rather aiding the enemy to defeat our effort. We can unite for a purpose, and the purpose will be, let's work on our independent tracks and get to Boya on time. There will be no room for the restoration forces to all be gathered in one unity, whatever, to face the enemy. No, because that's where compromise comes in. If that, group is infiltrated, we are done. But if we unite, the unity there is, when I come across you, I know you have my back because I have your back. If I'm facing the enemy, I know you are behind me. Or I know you are in front of me. You are neither scared of me and I'm not scared of you. That is the kind of unity we are looking at. Not unity to order that civilians should be mowed down. No, it's not done that way. If we take out the civil society, what are we fighting for? We are fighting to give a befitting lifestyle to our people because they have gone through a lot. And yet, at the same time, we are turning the weapons against the people as if they are just a bunch of animals that should be shot and killed. It doesn't make any sense. So this unity thing is something we are really studying so closely to make sure it doesn't go out of context. You can see what is happening currently in Ambazonia. A lot of counties, their restoration forces are coming together and reorganizing themselves to fall under their structure. That is the kind of unity we're talking about, where the restoration forces come together to beef up whatever structure they have, to reunite their bond in saying, if there is an attack on this LGA, then this LGA doesn't need to wait to be called in. They need to march in to make sure they push out the enemy. If there's an attack on this county, this other county doesn't need to wait. And that's why the interim government went further to create the entire country into regions. These 3 regions are due to the proximity of the counties, so that response time will be adequate to arrest the situation. There is no way somebody in Dongamantum will be expecting a response from somebody in Fako. There is no way. Dongamantum will be expecting Bui and Kutunja to give them the quickest response, which within 5-6 hours, they are at the scene. That is the kind of unity we are looking at. Not uniting with the colonial forces to take us back to Yaoundé. It doesn't work that way. And we will not tolerate that. Anybody that is having any dealings with the so-called unity warriors is doing so at their risk. The interim government is not, I repeat, the interim government is not going to allow the Ambazonian restoration forces to be part of this manipulation. Whatever groups that are working with a few restoration forces that were previously acting under the interim government and are now purportedly trying to join the so-called unity warriors and play a role there, those are not the restoration forces that this interim government is working with. And we will do everything to sensitize our people and the genuine restoration forces to stay focused.
Time should be chaos. Yes, chaos in the private sector, chaos in the public sector, unpaid salaries for several months, lawlessness, state fraud, embezzlement, and corruption. Just name it. There is more panic in the political corridors of Yaoundé like never before. Whether the octogenarian President Paul Biya is alive now, it doesn't really matter. Diverse political factions are teaming up. Everyone is suspicious of the other. If you are assuming that the effect of the war in Ambazonia or the economic situation of the Cameroon is bad enough, I will hasten to tell you that the days ahead might just be worse. Stay smart. I understand that you have a closer look in the situation. Please talk to us.
The useless war declared by the La Republic de Cameroon octogenarian dictator Paul Barthélemy B. Vondo Biya since November 30th, 2017 is inflicting untold suffering not only on the oppressed Ambazonians but equally on the oppressor, the colonial terrorists. La Republic de Cameroon, where many are indulging in diabolical ways, killing an already dead economy in order to make ends meet. The latest diabolical act has just been uncovered in the La Republic de Cameroon town of Bafoussam, where a deadly factory producing deadly honey has been amassed by the colonial La Republic de Cameroon forces of law and order and the culprits arrested. Watch this uncouth scene, void of all hygienic conditions, yet destined for human consumption. Call it manslaughter. A couple suspected of dealing in the large-scale production of fake wine has been arrested in Yaoundé by elements of the colonial gendarmerie, and after interrogation, the man led the gendarmes to where he had bought the liquor. The operation resulted in the arrest of a couple and identification of the factory producing these non-compliant goods. Their so-called factory was searched and the seized items consisted mainly of a drum of ethanol, a large stock of adulterated wine, and champagne bottles. Surprisingly, the fake dealers had authentic CMAC labels for various brands of alcoholic beverages, corks, capsules, and coloring agents, as well as cannabis. Carton of liquor packaged in juice bottles and fraudulently labeled under a well-known brand have equally been seized in the other quarters, neighborhoods in Yaoundé and Douala. How can there not be a cholera outbreak when the population has been reduced to the mercy of their environment? La Republic de Cameroon lacks potable water and suffers energy shortages for an impoverished, silent majority unable to make ends meet. And as it is said in La Republic de Cameroon local jargon, l'impossible n'est pas camerounais. As the Ambazonia Liberation War rages on, and with the resolve of the President of the Federal Republic of Ambazonia, Dr. Samuel Ikomi Sako, calling for action now after the groundbreaking ASSC-2, harder times await La Republic de Cameroon if they hesitate to engage in meaningful negotiations to see into terms of separations with the interim government. I am Star Smart reporting for Undaunted ABC Amba News.
This is a breaking news. It's really heartbreaking to see people die for what they believe in. It is sad to know that having an opinion or a belief has death at its consequences. But we believe that these countless deaths will not be in vain. There are reports coming in from Bambui that a man and his two sons were pulled out of their house, shot dead at the point blank range. This is the handiwork of blacklegs who betray anyone connected to the restoration forces. Bambui is infested with maggots, sick traitors who still believe in CPDM. Mr. Amadong and his sons were all killed because they are suspected of being Amba supporters. It must be recalled that just 2 days ago, 2 young men were also killed by the Republic, the Cameroon Turkish military, still in the Tuba local government era. These genocidal killings have to stop. See these footages for yourself. And now to world news. The UN says 4 million have fled Ukraine It is reported that Russia's invasion of Ukraine has triggered the fastest growing refugee crisis in Europe since the World War II. While Putin may be lifting his head like a lizard, a US official said, in his words, I quote, "We believe that Putin is being misinformed about Russia's military performance." By implication, he is insinuating that all Putin is doing is empty propaganda and be losing the war big time. We are going to examine that very shortly. But first, let us look into the humanitarian collateral damages caused so far. Mr. Smart, what do you have for us?
Only amongst the 4 million displaced during the past month, UNICEF says 2 million children have fled Ukraine, with more than 100 killed. Roughly 2 million children have now been forced to flee Ukraine, making up half of all refugees from the war, the United Nations Children's Fund said Wednesday. More than 1.1 million have arrived in Poland alone, with hundreds of thousands in nearby countries of Romania, Moldova, Hungary, Slovakia, and the Czech Republic. UNICEF warned of a heightened risk of exploitation and trafficking for children fleeing violence. In an effort to quell those risks, the UN agency is scaling up Blue Dots, which are one-stop safe spaces for traveling families. More than 100 children have been killed in the conflict, UNICEF added, with more than 130 injured. More than 2.5 million children have been internally displaced within Ukraine, according to UNICEF. Now, aside from these facts, Ukraine says that Chernihiv has come under colossal attack, while Russia says that there has been no breakthrough in negotiations being held in Istanbul. Here's the latest on the war in Ukraine. Chernihiv attack. The mayor of the northern Ukrainian city of Chernihiv dismissed Moscow's claim of a scale back in operations following what he describes as a colossal attack. The city was under fire from Russian airstrikes while shelling continued through the night, according to Vyacheslav Charles, head of the Chernihiv Regional Administration. No breakthrough. Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov said Wednesday there were no breakthroughs following a round of Russian-Ukraine in-person negotiations in Istanbul, but welcomed Ukraine's written demands. Disabled children. About 80 disabled children, some accompanied by their guardians, have arrived in the border town of Przemysl, Poland, after being transferred from the central Dnipropetrovsk region on Tuesday. A CNN team on the ground saw ambulances and crowds of paramedics waiting for the children at the train station earlier in the day. Belgorod explosions. Explosions in Russia's Belgorod region late Tuesday night may have occurred because of a fire at an ammunition depot, Regional Governor Vyacheslav Gladkov said Wednesday, citing preliminary information. Refugees, more than 4 million people, or almost 10% of Ukraine's pre-war population, have fled their home country since the start of the Russian invasion in late February, the UN says. Evacuation corridors. Ukraine and Russia have agreed on 3 evacuation corridors for the day. Ukraine's deputy prime minister said Wednesday. Vereshchuk announced one corridor for the evacuation of Mariupol residents and delivery of humanitarian aid to Berdyansk, one route for humanitarian aid delivery to and evacuation from Melitopol, and another for a column of people in personal vehicles from Enohoda to Zaporizhzhia. Russian units returned to Belarus. Some Russian units have returned to Belarus after suffering heavy battlefield losses in Ukraine. According to the UK, the units will need to reorganize and resupply in Belarus in what the MOD said was an indication of the logistical difficulties Russia is having in Ukraine. The situation as at the time of this report is seemingly getting worse.
Almost the same carnage. In fact, genocide is ongoing in Ambazonia, but without much support or interest from the West. You may wish to argue by comparing and contrasting the two situations, but war is war. We should at least be talking about the similarities where there are oppressors, Putin and Biya, and there are victims, Ukraine and Ambazonia respectively. The West has well armed Ukrainians to defend themselves. We have seen sanctions upon sanctions to pressurize Putin. And as such, we are tempted to ask if African lives really matter. Zelensky asks for more weapons and urges port closures to address the Norwegian parliament. It has been a struggle for petitions from Ambazonians to be read or for Ambazonia to be received by institutions. Where are we going? Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky called for more weapons and for Europe to close its seaports to Russia in an address to the Norwegian parliament on Wednesday. Zelensky asked for anti-ship missiles, Harpoon rockets, anti-air missile systems, and anti-tank guns. All weapons you can help us with will be used only to protect our freedom. Your freedom, he said. Zelensky said Russia is blocking Ukraine's seaports, amounting to piracy. Russia should not be able to use the word port freely. This is a matter of global maritime security, he also said. He warned the future of the entire continent, from north to south, from east to west, is being decided right now in Ukraine. Well, how true is that? We will examine that deeper in our subsequent newscasts. But first, let's find out what is happening in Africa. Star Smart, talk to us. What's happening?
From West Africa, Senegal, the race to provide Dakar with enough water to keep taps running. A population boom is intensifying pressure on scarce water resources in Senegal's semi-arid capital of 5 million people. A World Bank report pointed to poor management along with overexploitation as part of the reason for shortages. We wake up at 4 or 5 a.m. to get water, says CD4's 44 in his kitchen in a working-class neighborhood filled with large bottles of stored water. If he doesn't get up in time, the water often runs out by 5:30 a.m. False taps are sometimes dry for 2 or 3 days at a time. Like Fall, many residents of the Senegalese metropolis Dakar get up in the middle of the night hoping to collect water from their taps, which mostly runs dry. A population boom in Senegal is intensifying pressure on scarce water resources in a semi-arid capital of 5 million people, with problems set to increase over the coming decades. This is common to many African cities where infrastructure investments have lagged behind strong demographics and demand for water from industries and agriculture. In East Africa, Mozambique welcomes IMF's announcement of the resumption of financial aid. Mozambique's private sector has hailed the announcement of the resumption of financial assistance from the International Monetary Fund, IMF. On Tuesday, the Confederation of Economic Associations, CTA, Mozambique's largest employers organization, noted that the development creates a good outlook. The International Monetary Fund, IMF, had announced on Monday that it has reached an agreement with Mozambique for the implementation of an extended fund program, EFP, until 2025, disbursing financial assistance for the first time since the hidden debt scandal. This is the first time the IMF has funded Mozambique since the disclosure of the so-called hidden debt scandal in 2016, with only occasional financial aid following specific disasters such as the COVID-19 pandemic or cyclones Kenneth and Idai in 2019. Mozambican President Filipe Nyusi has welcomed the move, describing it as a great gain for the Southern African nation. The instrument approved by the IMF provides for a rapid recovery of the Mozambique economy and is based on promoting good governance, combating corruption, macroeconomic stability, and debt control, Nyusi said on Monday. And now, finally, in North Africa, Tunisia's Said condemns illegal meetings of parliament. Tunisia's President Kais Saied has condemned attempts at holding what he describes as illegal meetings of parliament suspended since last July. The Assembly Speaker Rached Ghannouchi, head of the Islamist-inspired Ennahda Party, has called for a plenary session on Wednesday to discuss Said's exceptional measures imposed since July. Speaking ahead of the meeting, the president accused those responsible from wanting to spread chaos. What happened today? The so-called virtual meeting is illegal because the assembly, its bureau are frozen. The state will only recover through an independent judiciary opposed by those who try to undermine the state and those who desperately try to stage a coup, accused Tunisian President Kais Saied. The decision to hold the plenary session was taken by the Bureau of the Assembly of People's Representatives, a body that includes the Speaker of Parliament and representatives of all parties with seats. The Speaker did not specify how and where the session will be taking place. I am Star Smart reporting for Undaunted ABC Amba News.
All right, thank you, Smart, for that report. Ambazonia neutralist. When neutrality and hypocrisy have a common face of betrayal. Now, before we get into those enticing words by Don't Wanna Be, I would like to call on all those watching this newscast to visit our website at www.abcambertv.com. Subscribe and become a club member so that you can enjoy ABC Amber TV 247. Remember that last week YouTube blocked Beyond TV for no just cause. Ambazonians, viewers and followers, we have got to build this platform and take total control over it. Now, once more, let us feel the pulse, energy, and emotions of Don't Wanna Be through the voice of our correspondent, Star Smart.
When Ayutabe Ayaba and Marianta Anu declares themselves as president, I accept. But when the home front is quiet, I blame Sako. When Ayutabe Ayaba and Marianta Anu raise money, I endorse their initiative. But when fighters are killed, I blame Sako for not buying weapons and equipping the fighters. When individuals plot coup against the interim government leadership of President Samuel Sako, I go silent. But when Sako unleashes the full righteous power of the people's justice, I condemn Sako for not preventing the coup. When Chris Anu's led gang of coup plotters destabilizes Ambazonia fighters at the most crucial moment of AFCON under international watch, I remain silent. But when AFCON progresses, I condemn Sako for not stopping AFCON. When Ayaba and his ADF make claim of attack, I praise him as a revolutionary leader, but I keep silent almost every other day when Ambazonia restoration fighters under President Samuel Sako make unrivaled gains against French Cameroons with proofs. When Ayaba-led group put up bogus claims of securing Norwegian deal, I praise Ayaba, but when the interim government led by President Samuel bring up an internationally backed Swiss mediation, I cast doubts. When frontliners of other groups organize events with champagne and drinks, I keep quiet. But when events are organized by the interim government or by Ambazonians on the visit of President Samuel Sako, I raise alarm on how Sako is enjoying while our people are suffering and dying. When the interim constitution is ripped into pieces by a coterie of reckless tribal apologists and extremists led by Commander Elvis, I keep quiet. But when President Samuel Sako sends out executive orders as provided for by the interim constitution, I jump to condemn him. When gossips are posted from sources that are opposed to the interim government, I share. But when information and intelligence are shared from official Ambazonia news platform like ABC Ambazonia TV, I take to reservation. When I'm invited to events which imply a return to normalcy at the home front or contradicts the claim of ongoing war, I attend. But when President Samuel Sako goes to events focused on Ambazonia, I decry his insensitivity to the peaceful atmosphere at home. When individuals go full length in their unpatriotic, scandalous, and betraying activities, I keep quiet as long as it benefits someone contending for power. But when the same outrageous voices are exposed by goodwill, patriots, and defenders of the people's interim government, I call them surrogates and handclappers of Sako. When President Samuel Sako rallied all Ambazonians and leaders in Washington, we generalized the success. But when these invited frontline leaders came and seized the funds raised, I keep quiet. This is how some self-styled neutralists are deceiving themselves. Ambazonians see and know what we are doing. They may not say a word today, but the truth awaits you tomorrow. I know you enjoy that. Just visit our website at www.abcambertv.com for a lot more.
And with that special report, we've come to the end of Undaunted tonight. But before we go, here is a recap of our major stories. Today on Undaunted, we told you that Doctors Without Borders has announced its suspension of operation in the troubled south of the Midland region of Ambazonia. According to official reports, 29 people has died of cholera in Ambazonia in the past week. The colonial health minister announced on Friday, March 25th, 2022. Secretary of State for Homeland Security and Defense responded to the killings in Bui by the Unity warriors. Hard times hit hard on La Republique du Cameroon as denizens indulge in diabolic ways to make ends meet. Refugee crisis sparked as Russia's invasion continues to grow as conflict nears its sixth week. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has called for more weapons and for Europe to close its seaports to Russia in an address to the Norwegian parliament on Wednesday. Ambazonia neutralists, when neutrality and hypocrisy have a common face of betrayal. Don wannabe captions. And that was it for Undaunted tonight. Bringing into the news untold stories, I am Oyi Opala. Will leave you with ABC Amber TV images. Thanks for watching.
When it does, you need this and this and this. When it happens to me, I always know where to go. When you've got professionals on